Welcome to Trailer Hitch, everyone.
We're recording.
We are recording, yes.
This is fun.
Yeah, it's different. And I think everyone is getting used to different right now.
Yes.
Trailer Hitch is no different in being different. Yes, so as of right now, due to physical distancing guidelines, we should all be observing the 6-foot rule. So we should be keeping 6 feet away from people who we don't live with. James and I are taking this one step further, and we're doing the 1.5 mile rule, which is he's in his apartment and I'm in my apartment.
That's correct.
And we are recording via a service called Zencaster at the moment. We'd like to shout out Micah Pollard for helping us get us set up with that. That's what he uses to record his podcast, Shark Bites. And having listened to their podcast sounds fucking good, and that's good enough for me. So
that's right. Social distance this. Got him. Cheers, Kevin.
Cheers, a digital cheers, yes, and a digital cheers to our listeners as well. You know, it's one of those things where I'm sure it's a very tense time for people, but we here at Trailer Hitch, we like to make sure that we have fun. And so James and I have been doing prop bets with each other throughout. So we're actually figuring out right now who has gained the most weight so far. And I can tell you, James, I am at 5.6 pounds. How about you?
Well, I don't have a scale in this house, but I can tell you,
like a mass from like a girth perspective. Like, do you feel extra stuff when you walk?
I can tell you that today was day 8 in a row that I ran 5K. So
why?
To try and stay, I don't know, mentally.
Were you being
healthy?
Chased by the coronavirus? Is that why you were running?
I'm always being chased by the coronavirus.
Wow,
that's the point, Kevin. No, but I am running with like a bandana over my mouth and stuff like that, and I'm
because you might have to go rob a train while you're out on your run.
That's exactly right. And when I cross people, I jump to the street if there's not oncoming traffic, and to stay 6 feet apart from everyone. So I'm following all the guidelines, and I especially because I'm not working. I got essentially laid off after all this happened. I need to do something, and a daily 5K run is something I look forward to. So
totally, man.
So totally. I don't think I've packed on many lbs.
Okay.
Kevin.
Okay, well, I may have won this prop bet, but the loser is my cholesterol, my blood pressure. But enough about us. You're here to listen about movie trailers, and we're about to make that happen. Because weirdly enough, we're still getting movie trailers, ? We don't know who's making them, but we're watching them.
So, mostly the streaming services.
Yeah, basically, if you can release it from the comfort of your own home and watch it from the comfort of your own home, then it's on the fucking table.
If they shot it already and the coronavirus is not gonna affect, say, like theater box office,
right?
Then it's business as usual for those movies that you already shot.
Basically, yeah. Unless COVID finds a way to infect Ethernet cables, we should be okay on this front for a while.
It is constantly mutating, though, so you never know.
We have to ask Al Gore to help protect it. He knows how to get the series of tubes safe. It's your time to shine, buddy.
It really isn't, though.
So we are going to be talking about Bad Education, which will be coming out on HBO. We are going to be talking about The Main Event, which will be coming out on Netflix. And we do have a special segment coming up for you guys right after this theme song.
Absolutely.
You can't haul your stuff without a trailer hitch. Trailer hitch.
Releases by the movie trailers. We're Trailer Hitch. This movie might totally suck, but the whiskey sure is going down fine. Yeah, we're Trailer Hitch.
I do have an update for you, James. I actually did happen to pack on an extra half pound in between the theme song and now.
That's impressive.
I kept telling myself I was going to do like push-ups or something during this, and that proved to be too ambitious, but maybe I should start. All right. Yeah. Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to Trailer Hitch. I'm Kevin.
Welcome to Trailer Hitch, everyone. I am James.
This is a trailer review podcast where we rate and review movie trailers. We rate them on a scale of need to see more, or never need to see. If James and I both like a movie, we celebrate. Then we go see the movie, report back to you guys in a segment called Trailer in the Rear View, in which we review the film in retrospect and see how the trailer stacked up in accordance. Now, you probably heard me say all that, and you're like, that sounded like a very clearly established thing that he says every episode. It feels like that's a
hogwash.
And here's the deal, folks. Just like you, we are cooped up. We have gotten sick of our respective routines, so we figured, you know what? We're going to shake up our routine too, damn it, because we have a new segment for you guys.
That's right.
Yes.
Not right this second, but...
Nope. We'll get there. So we'll get into the nitty-gritty of that segment.
Good tease, Kevin. Way to tease them.
Yeah, it's one of those things where maybe you'll see in the episode title what we're about to do. But if you haven't, let's say that you are just like, oh, a new Trailer Hitch episode, bone chance. And you started listening. Don't look at that title. You'll end up spoiling something for yourself, which will be a theme with our new segment. But before we get to that, James, I say we get to the main event.
I'm ready. I've been ready. Let's do it.
Yeah, bear in mind, the main event isn't our new segment. The main event is the trailer.
Aww, does our little Leo want to be a WWE superstar?
Get that back, come on.
Oh, we're gonna get you, Thompson.
Whoa. This mass powers only work for competitors who are deserving of its magic. Oh, no! What was that?
Okay, get ready for our first event, which also happens to be the main event. This is the main event, directed by Jay Karas. This is written by, looks like 4 people, up to and including Peter Hoare, Jim Mahoney, Larry Postel, and Zach Lewis. This is starring Seth Carr, Adam Pally, Tichina Arnold, Lucy Guest, Lisa Durupt, The Miz, who's a wrestler. It's a wrestling movie, so that's not a weird thing. Our random shout-out, because we here at Trailer Hitch, we like to give random shout-outs to cast and crew members because the top-billed people tend to hog all of the credit. Now, we are going to be shouting out... Oh, boy. All right. I'm going to do my best to say her name, bud. Here we go. Maya Makatumpag, who was the stunt double for Tichina Arnold. Hey, Maya, good job, bud. You did stunts in a movie.
Rock and roll. You know, I must say, Kevin, I'm usually able to tell on your face if you're approaching a name you're going to have trouble with. And this is proving to be very difficult for me. because
The main event starts with a wrestling match. It's pretty wild. Someone is on the metaphorical ropes. He's about to be knocked out. And then someone is on the literal ropes. And they jump from the top rope and they body slam this dude onto the ground. And who body slams that kid? Is it The Rock? Is it The Undertaker? Is it another wrestler that probably hasn't done anything in about a decade because that's the last time I watched wrestling? No. It's a kid. It's like an 8-year-old boy pinning this wrestler on the ground. They're tapping him out, and then all of a sudden, he's woken up. It was all just a dream.
Aww.
Yeah, I know. Bummer. He goes off to school. Some kids find a drawing of him that he made himself where he is a wrestler. And they start bullying him. They're like, fuck you and your dreams, bud. And they start to heckle him over that, which we brought this up in our Morbius review a few episodes ago. We just really need bullies to step it up and be more creative. If the bullies were teasing him because he wanted to be a wrestler, even though wrestlers can't get health insurance because they're too high risk, and so they're making fun of what's clearly a risky career decision for him and a risky decision for his health, I'd be all for that scene. But it's not. They're just kind of like, oh, you have dreams? That's stupid.
Man, you've thought a lot about this. Do you like...
All I have is time, James.
Do you want to be a bully? And like, you want to grow up to be a bully. A good one, though. Not
No, no,
this
no.
not this hack crap we see in movies.
I'm training myself just in case one day I have a kid and I find out they're a bully. I'm going to pull them aside and be like, buddy, you need to work on your material. Let's get the whiteboard out. We're getting a writer's room going. Let's make some good burns. After he gets teased by these bullies, our main character, who again is like an 8-year-old boy, is like super down. He goes off into, I guess, the attic is where he finds the mask. I don't actually remember where he finds the
I think it's his house somewhere. So
Yeah,
probably attic, basement, wherever they're storing stuff.
Yes, exactly. So it's like he goes up into the attic, presumably to look for something to do, and he's like, Jumanji board game, no, tosses that over his shoulder.
Could you imagine? Oh, that's such a good idea.
And finally he finds a mask and is like, oh, what's this?
He sees the mask from Jim Carrey as the mask and goes, closer. Nope, throws that over his shoulder.
And is able to find a mask, presumably in his house. Where it came from is not explored in this trailer. Definitely needs to be explored in the film. If you guys have the time to do reshoots.
What is it? Is it his grandfather's or grandmother's something? I don't know.
No, maybe it's his mom's. Like there's so many twists that could be done. Does the kid have a dog? It could be the dog's. There is definitely questions that come from where the mask comes from. But nonetheless, there is a note with the mask, James, and that note says, "Hey, if you wear this, you're going to be strong as fuck. You can step into the ring, but it's only going to work if and only if the person wearing it is like of pure of wrestler heart, I guess."
Yeah.
So the kid puts it on and he basically turns into a superhero. Like he's like flash fast. He's also super strong. He can like lift cars and all that sort of shit. And thus he's like, wow, I could probably do a lot of good in the world. I want to join the WWE. Wow, I have all this power. I'm going to use it for my own gain.
It's literally the lesson Peter Parker learned the first time being Spider-Man is not be a wrestler. Just don't be a wrestler.
You know, that
is the one thing he learns.
He would have learned that lesson, but when he was in the attic, he saw a radioactive spider and went, nope, and tossed that over his shoulder too. So this kid, first of all, he sees those bullies, fucking makes quick work of them because, he's a goddamn superhero now.
Mm-hmm.
And then next he's watching TV with his mom and they're like, hey, we're doing open auditions for a wrestling match. And they don't say it, but presumably they're like, that includes up to and including 8-year-olds. And the mom takes a look at him and is like, you would be fucking perfect for that. And so they go off, but the Miz, who's a professional wrestler, is kind of like the host of this event. And he's like, yeah, we're looking for wrestlers. Is there anyone who is super strong and super fast and is also, I don't know, under 4 feet tall? And then this 8-year-old shows up and just like wipes the floor with grown adults, like is just beating them up, down, left, right, and center. Everyone kind of looks at this kid and they're like, well, you're in. And yes, you should be fighting people triple your age and quadruple your weight class. And so this kid's doing that. And bear in mind, this is a comedy. Now, the jokes that we have told you are not in the trailer.
Right.
But there are like occasional jokes here and there. So at one point, the kid like jumps up onto a wrestler and he's like, whoa, like the match just started. Why are you this sweaty? And this wrestler's like, don't ask questions you don't want the answers to. We probably could have gone a little farther with that punchline. And the main character is 8 years old. This is definitely geared toward kids.
Of course, yeah.
And so, like, we're not going to look at this like it's Oscar fucking wild. We're just going to be looking at this as what it is, which is a kid's film.
Well, and it reminded me of like those Nickelodeon-made movies.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
And I was
totally
like,
right.
That's what I thought it was until, the card that said Netflix presents. And I'm like, man, Netflix, they don't care about cornering markets in general. They're just like, no, we do everything here. We do bad, cheesy Christmas Hallmark movies. We do Nickelodeon kid sports movies.
Oh, and by the way, here's Roma.
And then we will also win every single Oscar at the next Academy Award.
The way this trailer concludes is we have the mom sitting on the couch with the kid, and she's like, hey, real strength doesn't come from a mask. Real strength comes from what's in here. And she points to her head. And right here, she points to her heart.
And then that's when I went, except in this case, when real strength does come from this mask.
Yeah, like philosophically, I'm all about what that mom is saying, but from a practical level, folks, it's straight up wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
but again, Spider-Man figured this out first. It's not about the power, it's about the responsibility of the power.
That spider's just like looking from like the little crevice in the ceiling, just kind of like, come back up here, kid. I have so much to fucking teach you. So
you'll be down an uncle eventually, but you will learn so much.
Yeah, you're gonna grow tremendously as a person. Yeah, and that's basically the trailer. Then you see him like wrestle a few more people. The button to this is he's eating a bunch at dinner, and his dad is very suspicious about that. And kid's like, oh well, I've been burning a lot of calories, and we see him punch down a giant oak tree. Which now that I guess that COVID is happening and we're all relegated to staying inside, I guess we don't need as many trees. I guess from a basic principle, I'm not too upset about it.
Yeah, we want to keep the status quo of how we went into this thing, so we want to start destroying some things that make
everyone get some nuclear waste, toss it out your window once a day, just so that way we can make sure everything is just as we left it.
We all need to come out of this thing with the idea that it's business as usual, nothing has changed.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't want any meaningful change to come from a massive global event.
Absolutely not. Learn nothing is what I say.
Okay,
just like this kid in this movie.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, and I guess that is a very good note, James, is the kid really doesn't learn anything other than if you put on a mask, you can kick the shit out of basically whoever you want.
I'm the bully now, dog.
Look at me. I am the bully now. So it's like he doesn't really learn anything. Again, I'm really hoping they're playing this mask as we're going to reveal this is someone close to the kid whose mask it was. I think it would be a barn burner if it was the mom's, but
I mean that's rookie of the year right there.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right.
I mean, look, the comparisons are out there. It's like Mike. It's rookie of the year, especially with at the end of rookie of the year when he finds out his mom was actually the pitcher that was into baseball, not his dad that like left both of them. So like that could work for this one for sure. The mom could be the wrestler. I think if I was 10 years old, I would be all over this because I loved wrestling and I loved rookie of the year and like Mike, but I am not 10 years old.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the downside for when you're going for a younger demographic. Sometimes, is you lose everyone above, like everyone in your age bracket kind of like ages out of your movie.
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, like I am definitely in that aged out camp because I am over the age of 10. Now that said, I mean, like, bear in mind, obviously, if you're an adult and if you got a kick out of this, then fucking get your kicks. Not on Route 66, though. Stay inside. Yeah, I mean, like, that's totally cool. But yeah, I mean, like, for me, yeah, I mean, like, definitely there was, like, I think it was a little bit lacking in terms of, what happens to the kid from, like, an art perspective. I know sometimes we harp on trailers when it's like, oh, this is giving me the entire character arc. And we're not arguing that this trailer should do that, but I am definitely saying I would have liked to have gotten a little bit more of that kid's internal conflict, because once he kicks the shit out of the bullies, well, be damned, it's done. Like, he's pretty much exactly where he wants to be. He's already hit his goal. And so I would like to see what ends up happening to that kid from an emotional standpoint. Does he start wrestling and he's like, this doesn't really feel like it's for me, but I'm really successful at it, and now I can't stop because Vince McMahon is a monster.
I would like the end of this movie to be he wins all these matches, and then Vince McMahon shows up and he's like, kid, there's a script. You have to follow the script. You can't just kick everyone's ass all the time. You have to have an ebb and flow. It's like basically everything being deconstructed in his brain and someone explaining to him that wrestling is fixed.
Yeah, I think that would be great. It's one of those things where overall, I'm going to give this a never need to see. But how about you, James? Where are you at?
Yeah, I mean, nothing against it at all. I don't think This is purely on the type of movie it is. I have a feeling it's selling itself as exactly the right kind of movie that it is.
Definitely.
It's just happens to not be for me. So, never need to see it. But like, I don't fault anything in it. It's not like I would have done anything differently here. It's just clearly not for us,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it
was a well-made trailer for that demographic, I think.
For that demographic, yeah, I could definitely see a kid really getting a kick out of this, and I do give the movie props for that. Yeah, because like if you're an adult, it's like it has Ken Marino in it, so if you like Wet Hot American Summer and like the David Wayne camp, it's like, oh, that's kind of neat, but you don't really see him do too much in this trailer to like get you excited enough as like an adult who is a fan of that comedian.
Wait, you don't think 10-year-olds will be like, Ken Marino,
yeah, we love Medical Police on Netflix.
Do you guys remember Veronica Mars? No?
What, were you born yesterday? Because I was born 2 days ago and I've seen Veronica Mars. You know what? I like what you're saying, James. I do like that concept of these kids who have like watched all of this really cool stuff. You're making it sound like they have a good education, but speaking of education, sometimes it can go the other way, James. Sometimes
no, it can't.
You may have, and I'm not joking, a bad education.
Come.
What?
Quick.
This is a very real crime here, a theft of taxpayer money.
The sum total is $250,000.
What?
Jeez, 250,000.
Everything's fine.
You can't jump the gun here, not when there's this much at stake. We need to know what we're dealing with.
Frank,
After everything we've worked for.
Frank,
To get this far.
Frank, you have nothing to worry about. Frank's gonna fix this.
I don't give a damn about my bad reputation, but do I give a damn about a bad education? We'll find out. This is Bad Education. This is directed by Corey Finley, written by Mike Makowski. This is starring Hugh Jackman, Allison Janney, Alex Wolff, Ray Romano, Stephanie Kurtzab. Oh no, that was another name. I'm just gonna skip that one and cut around this. Our random shout out is going to go to Jerry Papalis, who is the hairstylist for Hugh Jackman. Hey, Jerry, we saw the hair in the trailer. Looks fucking great. Good job, bud.
Does it?
I think it looks pretty good. I buy his character would have that hair.
It fits the character, yeah. I wouldn't be caught dead with a hairstyle.
The longer this goes on, man, like we're all going to have hair like that. So
no, I'm shaving it off, man. If it gets to that level, I will be going in the bathtub and just like just all the way down.
I know this is nothing new for me because I usually have long hair, but I'm planning on coming out of this looking like Cousin It from the Addams Family. But enough about my hair. We have to talk about Bad Education.
Yeah.
In that cold open, we have Hugh Jackman and Allison Janney, kind of like joking with each other on bleachers. Kind of get the sense of their relationship out the gates. And once we come to kind of find out more, I'm definitely reading the eye of the sandwich. You said you didn't want this? Well, why not? Just eat the fucking sandwich, man. And she's trying to like shove it in his face. And we'll kind of come to find out that Allison Janney is committing an embezzlement scandal within this school. And Hugh Jackman, at least as far as the trailer posits it, is he was not aware that this was happening. So her shoving this sandwich in the face is kind of like, yeah, I'm doing this thing and making a bunch of money for myself. You want in from like a metaphor standpoint. But perhaps,
wow.
I was about to say, perhaps I'm reading too much into this. I've watched.
I don't want to say. I don't want to say you're reading too much into it, but I'm just gonna say my brain did not go there.
I will say again, I've had nothing but time and no push-ups on my hands, so
start doing push-ups, Kevin.
I really should. Just something. If anything, help me lose the 2 pounds I gained since this episode started. So once we move on from that cold open, we have this girl who comes in and she's doing a piece on the school because like their numbers are really going up in terms of enrollment. She looks at Hugh Jackman and is like, oh, bear in mind, this is nothing to be nervous about. I'm just doing a little puff piece. And Hugh Jackman leans in and goes, hey, it's only a puff piece if you let it be a puff piece. And clearly he is trying to be inspirational. And unfortunately for him, it does inspire her. And it ends up creating the biggest clusterfuck imaginable. Because it turns out, yes, enrollment is up, but some of that money isn't going to the right place. It seems as if like 6 figures of it has been embezzled. And so the board of directors is clearly freaking out about it. We then get our music cue, which is the hardest button to button by the White Stripes. I would give you an overlong explanation for how that relates to the embezzlement scheme, but we don't have the time, and I really should do push-ups. But I do like that music choice. I do think that it definitely gives what could be very dry material a certain aplomb to it, where it kind of makes it a bit more stimulating from a stylistic standpoint. And in terms of style, I think we get some really good editing in here, as various members of not just his own staff, but the press come to ask questions. That's a repeated mantra of just like Frank, and then he's like having a conversation with someone trying to not be overwhelmed. Frank, and then he's got to like literally shut everyone out and just stare at himself in the bathroom, like completely fucked. Really?
Yeah. Well, it culminates to the line like, "Don't like nobody worry, Frank will get us out of this, or Frank will save the day," and then. Yeah. Right, and then it goes to the bathroom shot.
Yes,
and that's a great build up, I think, to that moment.
There's a really great bit where Allison Janney reveals that she was the one doing the embezzling, and she's sobbing, and she's like, "I don't have an excuse for this," and we reverse on the entire staff looking at her, and Ray Romano saying, "Well, there's the sociopathy," and then on a dime she stops crying and goes, "Well, yeah, there's that." There is really strong humor in this that I definitely think helps make what, again, could be a very dry subject very approachable and interesting. So that's the general gist of the trailer. James, how are you feeling about this?
The humor worked for me. I liked the look of it. I liked the pace of it a lot. Obviously, I like the acting in it. Like, I'm a massive fan of Hugh Jackman. I love Allison Janney. Ray Romano has been having like bit roles or, co-starring roles here and there for the last like 5 years that I've been loving every single one of his co-starring roles.
Yeah, I know you haven't caught The Irishman yet, but he's really fucking good in The Irishman.
I heard he's excellent in The Irishman. He's excellent in The Big Sick.
Yes, absolutely.
So I know he's just been crushing it. So I love the cast. I love the feel of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the build, like you said, the music, and then the build up to that moment of Frank in the bathroom, just like looking in the mirror, breathing to himself, like, "You got this, buddy." And when he's probably like, "Yeah, you definitely don't." Where it falls down for me, I watched the trailer 2 times, and it was still kind of hard for me to understand what the scandal was.
The specifics of it, yes.
Yeah, I know the scandal involved $250,000.
Yes,
because the trailer capitalizes on that really well. But I think the trailer doesn't do a good enough job to get all the viewers on the same level of understanding what the scandal exactly is.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that, dude. Yeah, I had the same thing too. I wasn't entirely sure what the specifics were either. I would have really loved, because I know what was The Big Short. I know The Big Short kind of made it a point to kind of talk about the specifics of their scandal, and then pulling back and saying, "Look, this is really hard to understand, and that's the point. Like, don't feel dumb." Like, the idea.
Oh yeah, that was excellent.
Yeah,
how it was presented. Yeah,
I really would have loved, and this doesn't seem nearly as fourth wall breaking as like an Adam McKay piece, obviously, but at the same time, I think I would have liked some, even if it was very brief, and even if it was just meant to show us how confusing it was, just a snippet of what exactly happened there. Even if it was, okay, they did X, Y, Z, Alpha, Beta, Omega, and then you just reverse shot on someone clearly not fucking getting it, that would have been totally good by me.
I think that would have helped a lot.
Yeah, and I completely agree, man. That is something that is lacking in this trailer that I think would have helped it insurmountably.
It's presented pretty quickly in the trailer that, hey, there's this scandal, and this movie is about the fallout of that scandal, even to the point where they literally tell you who is the person to blame. It's Allison Janney.
Yes.
But even by the end of it, I'm like, great, I know who done it, but I don't know what got done.
Yes.
I was still a little confused here and there about it. So otherwise, I really liked the trailer, but like that's kind of a big thing to, in my eyes, drop the ball on.
That's legit. Yeah. Because otherwise, I think the editing in this trailer, we alluded to the Frank motif. I think the music choice is really great. From the general construction of the trailer outside of that, I'm really, really happy with this.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited. But it does come down to not a coin flip, but it does come down to this is one of the rare instances where, God, this is right in the fucking middle between a need to see and a need to see more from me. And I think just because I really like the people involved, be it the actors, this director, Corey Finley, directed a movie that I really liked a few years ago called Thoroughbreds. I really liked the pedigree involved. I really liked the general gist of the trailer. And even though it might not explicate a lot of depth in the trailer or in the movie itself, I feel like I'm going to be entertained for at least a couple of hours, and that's not nothing. And so, as such, I'm going to just slightly push this over the edge to a need to see.
I love it. Yeah, for me, it doesn't have that pedigree, but like I said, I did like what I saw here, and if it just was a bit more clearer for me, I think this would have been it would have pushed me over the edge to need to see. But as of right now, it stands at a need to see more.
That's legit, man. That is totally legit.
But I did like what I saw, though.
All right, we are going to move on from A Bad Education. We're moving on from the main event to the main event, folks. We are going to be going into a new segment. So something that we noticed and something that we've talked about and have considered bringing into the show is the general gist of like the greater mindset around trailers itself. So a pretty common refrain that James and I hear, we've alluded to it a few times in the show, is people being like, trailers these days ruin everything. Like they spoil everything in that sense. Usually it's within the film hipster crowd. There are a lot of people who are like, I make it a point to never, ever, ever watch trailers because they spoil the movie. And like, I want to go in as blind as possible. Obviously, as two people who have this podcast, we don't agree with that. At the same time, it's kind of hard to argue against it because, as you see, we have this podcast, so we're clearly pretty biased in terms of like what we think. So we figured now, well, we have the time, let's get a little bit empirical with it. And so this is a segment that hopefully we'll be able to do more of in the future. This is called High Beam, Low Beam. So what this is, we do a movie. So it's like we both see a movie. Now, one of us watches all of the promotional material for it, be it trailers, TV spots, what have you.
Beforehand.
Before seeing the movie. And the other person walks in completely blind. They're the low beam. They're the one who just goes, sees the movie, not knowing a damn thing about it before it starts.
They're the person not being an asshole and blinding everyone else on the road.
What we did first was actually a movie that really does hinge on its premise, and it very much hinges on, according to people who have seen it, going in completely blind. Now, I watched the trailer for this particular movie before I walked into it and was like, well, I feel like that shouldn't have given that away. And so it's one of those things where I figured this would be a really good one to put to the test. So I went and I saw this movie, One Cut of the Dead. I recommended James watch it, but told him don't watch the trailers because we could do a thing about it. And so now we're going to talk about it. Now, before we get into the movie, we are going to start off with like spoilers, and we're going to get into general specifics with the movie. So if you are interested in One Cut of the Dead, it is currently streaming for free on Shudder. Otherwise, I'm sure you'd be able to rent it on Amazon.
Yeah. So One Cut of the Dead is the movie we're talking about. So, and it's a Japanese film?
It is a Japanese film, yes. And if you are averse to foreign movies and you're like, ugh, it is under 90 minutes, one, and two, it is a horror comedy.
So we'll get into the joke of this a bit later. I can't stress enough how you must remember that it's 90 minutes long.
Yes. Okay.
That's all I'll say for now.
I'm excited to hear about it because I feel like I went through a similar thing. So yes, there will be very, very abundant spoilers for One Cut of the Dead from here on out. So please,
but if you feel like you're never going to see this movie based on what it's a zombie movie, right? But Japanese, it's foreign, it's a zombie movie. If you feel like you're never going to watch it, I think that's okay. I think we're going to have a really entertaining conversation about it. So go ahead, listen in. But if you want to watch it, go watch it.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so we're going to get into it. So first, James, I'm just going to go through, because this movie, if there was ever a movie to have a 3-act structure, holy shit, is this it? So
It really is.
The first third of this movie is a zombie movie. It's a zombie horror movie, survivors, and they have to try and avoid the zombies because there's an outbreak, damn it.
Yeah.
They're stuck in one location. Now, the big thing about this is it is all done in a one take. So it's a 30-minute one take. And eventually, as you're watching it, you start to notice things. You start to notice that, there seems to be a lot of dead air in this movie. It seems like there's a lot of weird, awkward pauses. There are characters who are asking the same question more than once and then being told, you asked me that already. And it kind of plays as like weird, awkward humor, but at the same time, or maybe this just sucks, I'm not too sure. And you get to the end of this 30 minutes, and then there's credits. Now, you either have one of two things happen. You could be like me, and you can be like, wow, that 90 minutes flew by. And then you bring up the counter to realize you're only 30 minutes into the movie. James, why don't you go ahead and tell us what happened to you during that moment?
So I actually took notes while I was watching this. Can I promise you, there's not many.
Oh, no, can I? I'd love to hear them.
It wasn't until they like cut and then got all the way upstairs and they were talking for a little bit and then they heard a noise and one of the characters says, "Oh, it must have been the wind."
Yes.
That at that point I finally realized, oh, this is a one take. Yeah, and it was because that was one of the very first awkward pauses that you were talking about.
Yeah,
was right there, and I was like, "Oh, that's a weird awkward pause. Oh, this has all been a one take. Okay, well, this might have just been the best take of this whole movie. So there you go.
Sure.
They just happen to have one awkward pause at this moment, but that's okay. We'll power through. And then at 16 minutes in, I said, I feel like this is the first time we get confirmation that the POV camera is also a cameraman in the narrative, because the director yells at the cameraman, keep rolling. Right to the camera, right to you, the audience.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, that's interesting, that because for a while I was like, well, there's this other handheld camera, but no one's asking this cameraman if they're okay.
Yes.
Everyone's just like, are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. The director's like, keep rolling, but no one asked the cameraman, are you okay? So I was a little confused there. Then my next note is, what is with all the awkward pauses? There's so many awkward pauses. Okay, that's all I had there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get to the point where the girl actress, the younger one, is hiding in like a tool shed.
Oh yes.
And my note is, this camera guy as a part of the narrative makes no sense. When she's hiding, like a zombie steps in and she like covers her mouth. That zombie, okay, maybe he doesn't see her, but he would have seen that cameraman. And we've already established that the cameraman is real because the director yelled at him. Then the credits roll.
Yep.
And man, I almost shut this movie off at 37 minutes. And then at 40 minutes, so literally 3 minutes after the credits roll on that one take, I have written, I have officially thought this movie ended 2 times already, and I am not even halfway through it. And now I will say one last note and then let you take where we go from here.
Sure.
My next note, Kevin, is, okay, all right. Okay, I get it now. Gotcha.
Okay.
And go, Kevin.
All right. So, yes, that director that James had alluded to, that you see in this one take, because, yes, the characters in the zombie film are a camera crew. They were off filming a zombie movie, and then actual zombies started to attack, is the premise of the movie. But it
not a very good zombie movie either.
No.
Because I was watching this movie, Kevin, and I went, what? This seems like such a waste of my time that Kevin wanted me to watch this damn movie. I mean, it's a one take. That's impressive. But these awkward pauses, are just so bad.
Well, and at one point, a character gets hit in the head with an axe and then jumps up into frame, screams,
Oh my god!
fall back down.
So many weird things had happened up to that point that when that happened, I went, "Yep, that tracks. Okay, sounds good." I guess it just didn't like get real deep in the skull. Just the outer layer, just the
that outer crack. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then maybe she became cognizant of the fact she was hit with an axe. Um, yeah, so it's one of those things where, okay, like that's that movie. And then credits roll, and then it's black for a little bit, and then we see that director again. And he says, "You want me to do what?" And it turns out what we just watched was a movie within a movie. What we just watched was a zombie one-take movie, which we are now seeing this director being hired to do.
So technically, if you count the first like 3 minutes of the movie, it's at this point it's still a movie within a movie within a movie.
Yes.
Don't forget that one movie.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Thank you, James. It is Inception as fuck. And then the next 30 minutes, the second act, as it were, is basically seeing this director not just getting this movie ready, but also like his home life. Like he lives with the woman who we see get hit with an axe in the first 30 minutes. That's his wife. And they have a daughter who's a teenager. She's really into film. She's really excited to go off and start her filmmaking career. And
she's a bit of a dick.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's like, just like your old man. And she's like, well, Dad, your movies suck. Pa is desperately trying to connect with daughter throughout this 30-minute set. And throughout the process, we see the pre-production of this, where it's basically this guy, he keeps going to his studio because he's being commissioned to do this one-take thing. It's going to be filmed and record and broadcast live. And it's just him looking at these studio people and saying, this is an awful idea. This is not going to work. We shouldn't be doing this. And we just keep seeing production problem after production problem. There are issues with the main actor who ends up getting fired and replaced by the director. So now he is not only directing and producing and writing a fucking live one-take 30-minute film, he's also acting in it too. There is like master control setup where it's like people are giving directions. They got to figure out props. They have to figure out all sorts of stuff. And then they're finally about to hit record. And that is the end of Act 2. James, what were your thoughts up until then?
So what I love about Act 2 is that you know a lot of these things going in because of Act 1. So you know this guy becomes the director / actor in his own movie.
Yes.
So it was interesting seeing like, oh, they cast other people for these roles, and in the back of your head, there's still some anticipation there because you're still wondering like, well, we know that guy doesn't end up doing the role. We know his wife ends up getting in the role somehow. So it's really nice because even though this is like a 1 month earlier type of scenario during all the pre-production, you'd think you'd be in danger of kind of sucking some of the anticipation out of that act because we know how the movie turns out. We literally do. But by switching up, the pre-production process, and then literally everything gets thrown out the window like 2 seconds before they go live, that made it really exciting to watch that second act. At the end of the second act, partially at the beginning of the third act, which I will let you talk about, obviously. So at this point, it was like an hour and 8 minutes into the movie. And my note here, and this is basically my last note.
Okay.
Is OMG, the awkward pauses make so much sense now. They're all missed cues. Yep. I'm just going to go ahead there and throw out the rest of my notes. 1 hour and 8 minutes. and I did. I wrote no more notes because I'm just like, man, what a waste of my time for like critiquing that first half. But I mean, you're supposed to be mentally, you're supposed to be tracking these things in that first act, going like, whoa, what is with all these awkward pauses? This is such a bad movie. It doesn't make any sense here, and blah, blah, blah. You're supposed to be tracking those so that when you watch Act 2, it all starts to click into place at different times, which is great. But
it really is both Act 2s and 3 both really illuminate a lot of why the first act sucks so much.
Yeah, and Act 3 really dives into it, but more on a physical comedy level,
Yes.
where Act 2 is more of the explanation.
Mm-hmm.
And I, at that point, I was like, well, it felt like a waste of time to write down these notes, but
Oh, totally.
oh well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, so Act 3 it's you are now watching the 30-minute one-take movie in Act 1 again, but now you get the behind-the-scenes component of it. And yes, as James alluded to, those awkward pauses are missed cues. So it's like a character shows up like dead drunk and like one gets food poisoning. And so it's like they're either off like shitting their brains out or like passed out, and so those awkward pauses, like someone writes a cue card that's just like actor missing, stall. And then
And
they
they're
have
all just reading the cue cards.
yeah, and then in theory, yeah, they're reading the cue cards, and then those awkward pauses and them asking the same question a couple of times. It's because they suck at improv. It's like they explicitly are like, we can't do improv. And you see it. You see them not be able to do it effectively.
Oh my god! If we're talking about like the one that is the craziest, and I don't know why I didn't write anything down for this because I thought it was self-explanatory, but when the main actress in Act 1 is screaming at
Yeah.
the end of Act 1, how long is she screaming for? Like
A long time, yeah.
I want to say it's like 2 full minutes, which is an eternity of a film's runtime.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, there was an exciting action scene happening here between, the wife with the axe. We didn't know she was a wife yet. So like the makeup artist with the axe and the lead of the movie. They were fighting, and all of a sudden the camera pans to the reaction of the girl screaming, and you keep thinking this camera's gonna pan back to the action, and she just never does, ever.
Yes.
It's just like it takes forever, and it's just like, what is going on? What
when
is
you're watching
this
Act 1, you're
movie?
like, why am I focusing on this person? Why am I not looking at the action? And it's because that the actress who the director is fighting has like straight up snapped and gone insane. And so he's got to like try and knock her out without like hurting her. And that's what you see in Act 3 is you see that happening. You see what leads to all of the missed cues in Act 1. And it gets so bad with like how things are going, they bring their daughter into like the mission control area so that way like she can watch and see how something is filmed. And it hits a point where the daughter's like, oh god, I gotta get out there. And then she runs out, and then she starts to help the directorial process. And then the movie ends like again, but instead of credits, now they call cut. And we see these people who have clearly, as we've seen with Act 1, made a film that's not good. Like, it's rough. It is rough going. But they're so happy. Like, they're just like, we did it. And we accomplished it. And they're all well aware that things went terrible. But they don't care. They were actually able to do the damn thing.
I mean, I feel like that's the feeling you get anytime you accomplish a live broadcast thing. Like,
yeah, or a movie,
and
you shoot a short film or whatever, that's how you feel. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the mentality. And I know it's kind of it is brought up in the movie how the lead that they got for this film within a film is like this pop star guy or whatever, or he's a huge star, and he's kind of a dick, right?
Mm-hmm.
All he wants to do is art. And what is cool is that even he eventually realizes that live broadcast is a form of art, but it isn't in the execution. It's just in the doing. Just do it. Just complete it. You will feel like you did something, and it will feel so nice. Like, live broadcast is some of the greatest entertainment out there, and it doesn't even have to be entertainment. It can just be like, even news is a miracle that stuff happens live.
Yeah, truly. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and then like really the last thing we see is now dad and daughter have connected. That is one cut of the dead. So here's what I'm intensely curious about. As someone who had no idea what they were walking into,
correct,
I know you were like, oh, I'm considering shutting this fucking movie off.
It was more that credits rolled, and I was like, oh, this movie's done. I guess I'll shut it off. So I almost shut it off. And then I was like, you know what? Let me, because the shot was still lingering on the girl on the pentagram.
Yes.
So I was like, you know what? Let me wait and see if something happens after this. Maybe there's like a little post-credit scene. And then it jumped to 1 month earlier, and I was like, what the fuck? So that was like the second time that I got faked out into almost turning the movie off. Not because I was so turned off by it, but because it psyched me out 2 times thinking this thing was done, and it totally wasn't even halfway. Not even halfway. It's insane to me.
Yeah, absolutely. What was riding that wave like of just like seeing this movie and then turning into something completely different, and then what it becomes in the third act?
I would have really, it's one of those rare instances that I really wish I could have seen a live reaction video of me watching that movie.
Oh, no,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my last note, and like I lied before, so this is my last note, but it wasn't until the end of the movie. I said, man, I have felt a lot of things through this movie, but I'm so happy to say that the final and lasting impression was I just fucking love this movie so much.
Dude, yeah, that's how I felt walking out of it too.
Yeah. It's spectacular. Everything clicks, even when it strings you along for like an hour almost.
Yeah.
Before you realize that things are going to click. And for some reason, you still keep watching.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just so fascinating.
What I give the movie a lot of props for is the movie is ballsy to do what it does, because like the intent was, hey everyone, we did a 30-minute one take movie, and really like the 30-minute one take thing is like that's the longest you can go for this premise, because if it's 20 minutes, people are like, now we've seen 20-minute one takes before, try better. But if it's honestly like if it's 40 minutes, if that one take movie is 45 minutes, we all probably collectively would have been like, this is a waste of my time, this isn't very good, and then maybe moved on. Or like we would have like we wouldn't be talking about it because not enough people, or we would be like, this is way too fucking indulgent, like to do 45 minutes of what is deliberately a bad movie. So they make a really big risk, and they found the exact right amount of time, but they take a huge risk in making you sit through something that is deliberately not that great, but then doing something really impressive, which is completely recontextualizing what you watched and kind of realizing, no, regardless of quality, this is a huge accomplishment. And like, you cannot like the final product. No one in the movie who's making the movie liked the final product, but at the very least, there's a lot of craft that goes into making a movie regardless of how it turns out, and that's something to celebrate.
And they love the experience. Like a lot of, as artists and filmmakers, you don't always have to be focused on the end result, on the final product. Yes, that's important, and yes, that is the lasting impression for other viewers. But in terms of what's good for you, what's good for, your career, what's good for your self-interest is experiencing something like that and coming out on the other end and feeling accomplished about it. Who cares if no one likes it? Like, you did that, and that was awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's such an endearing message. And
it's such a feel-good movie by the end. Who knew, man?
Who knew that One Cut of the Dead honestly ended up being one of the biggest feel-good movies of the last year? Like, it's nuts.
And there was still some like concern watching the third act. Like, there was that cue card to the actress who's like, we ran out of axes, you're gonna have to find an axe outside. And I was just like, oh no, is this movie gonna end with her accidentally killing the actual director? And I would have been really bummed if that was the ending, because it was just such a fun, uplifting ride up to that point, that when it came time to seeing the behind the scenes of her axing the director, I was like, oh, please don't actually kill him.
Yeah.
And they didn't, and it was lovely. It was just so unbelievably lovely. I never thought I would say that about a zombie movie before. Lovely.
Yes. It is.
just lovely.
Okay, well, we're going to give our rating, and then we're going to move on to the trailer portion of this.
Yes.
But yes, usually when we watch a movie, our rating scale is should see again, glad I saw it, should have waited, or shouldn't have seen it. And for me personally, it's a should see again. I've already watched it twice, and I've been very vocal with my friends about, yo, you should watch this movie.
Yeah. This is did this come out this year or last year?
So it's one of those things where I think it's like world premiere was 2017. It wasn't in theaters in the States until 2019 though. So I'm calling it a 2019 for our purposes.
Okay, so I can't say it's my favorite movie of this year, but I was over the moon about this movie. It can't be anything less than a should see it again. So excited. So excited to recommend it to people.
Yeah.
Especially people who love cinema and love filmmaking and maybe love live broadcast. Like there's something in it for anyone that is a cinema fan. I just loved it, man. I thank you so much for recommending me, and thank you for telling me not to watch the trailers, which leads in to our next part.
Indeed, yes. So this was definitely marked as a trailer that you should avoid. We're going to watch this trailer right now, and we're going to get your reaction for it. James, you have now seen the trailer. What did you think of it? Do you think that sells the movie? Do you feel like you would have taken things away from that?
Is it weird that my reaction to that question is I don't know? And I think it's because the movie itself has so many layers already that I feel like a day removed from watching it, because I watched it yesterday, I'm still processing like the inception level of it. You know? So it sells it as a comedy right away. So instantly, you know, the tone that is in the first act of the movie is not the tone of the overall movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something I didn't know going in. When I was watching this, it was just the first act. So I was just like, oh, this is just like a schlocky, badly made zombie movie. But it's kind of fun. You know, it's very, very cheap, but it's very fun.
Yeah. It's like the perennial, you watch it to giggle at it with a friend.
Yeah. And I didn't have any friends around me, so I didn't giggle much. but you know, whatever. So the trailer is unique because the music choice it uses is very light and charming. It's a charming music cue. So it's undercutting literally any kind of gore or violence that you're seeing, which you don't get when you're watching that first act. But the majority of this trailer is the first act, though. You don't get a lot of the meta part of, oh, they're making a movie within a movie within a movie. You know, this sounds so convoluted. You know they're making a movie within a movie, but you don't know they're making a movie within a movie within a movie yet. And I think the trailer does a pretty good job of hiding that until I think the button. So the button of the trailer, it has the credits. It has like the yellow screen with just some credits, and then there's a button of like one of the producers being like, one take, no cuts, with one camera from start to finish. And they're like, oh yeah, that's great. And then the director's like, no, that's absurd. That is the first time the trailer kind of hints at the idea that these two things might be, what you're watching might be much more separated than you initially thought in the trailer. I don't know. It's hard. My brain is kind of doing laps. I don't know. This broke me. This movie plus trailer broke me. It officially broke this half of Trailer Hitch.
Wow. Okay. Legit. Yeah. So for me, it's
in a good way.
good. Now for me, as someone who saw the trailer walking into the movie, it was one of those things where the second I saw the button for this, I was like, oh fuck, I really wish I hadn't seen that.
Okay, so my instinct is right then. That button might be one step too far then.
Yeah. And
otherwise I really liked the trailer though. And I don't think it gave too much away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It really is just like that last little nub there at the end.
Yes.
It's interesting because this is why I wanted to bring the movie up, especially in this context, because it's a movie where this is kind of being held up as an example of this is like a terrible trailer in the sense that this gives too much away. See, One Cut of the Dead did it. And I wanted you to watch the movie not seeing any of it because I kind of wanted to get the ride from your eyes, because I walked into this knowing the meta aspect of it. I walked into it knowing that what I was watching in the first 30 minutes was fake. And if anything, honestly, I feel like it helped me enjoy the first 30 minutes more. Like walking into it.
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, walking into it knowing it was fake, I saw all of the not missed cues. I didn't know it was that at the time, but seeing all the awkward pauses and like clear and obvious like mistakes that were happening, it made me kind of go, oh, okay, like, haha, like something's going wrong. I didn't know to what extent it was going wrong. I didn't realize it was as bad as it was. But yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, oh no, that really helped me appreciate that first half hour quite a bit. But I was really curious to get the perspective of someone who didn't know what the fuck was happening in the film.
I think I love that you got an added appreciation out of that. I don't think I would trade my experience for anything else, though.
Totally, yeah.
Here's the tricky part, because we're a trailer podcast and we're talking about marketing and how to get people in to come see your movie.
Sure.
Other than that button, I don't know if I would have done anything differently. I don't think I would have. I would have done that same trailer, sans the button, minus the button.
I feel like that would be my play too, to be quite honest.
But unfortunately, that still ruins the first act for you. So you're still going to have that knowledge going into that first act that this is supposed to be goofy and silly. And I didn't. I thought this was supposed to be a zombie movie. And the fact that it was so awkward and weird had me just so boggled. I was just so boggled, but in a fascinated way. I love my experience with the movie, and I wouldn't have traded that for anything. But I don't think you can advertise this any other way than they already did.
If this was a movie akin to like A Quiet Place, a movie that like, oh, we're expecting this to be the #1 box office that weekend, then yes, you want to play it this way. It does give something away, but then that way you're guaranteeing people don't walk out in the first 30 minutes.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, especially on like the film festival circle, and now it's like this is on Shudder, like now it's on streaming services and shit like that. And now people again have an abundance of time on their hands. It's one of those things where I would still take that button out under the guise of I feel like the people who are going to see this are going to be in it for the long haul. And if not the long haul, they're at least going to be in it for the first 40 minutes and they'll be able to see what that twist is. And if you want to bail after that twist, okay, yeah, that's your choice. This movie might not have been for you, but at the very least, like you would stick around long enough to understand, oh, this is a part of a larger story. Like,
yeah, I'm still not entirely sure what the point of the second round of credits were before the midpoint.
I think it was literally just meant as a double fake out. I think it was meant to be okay, you just watched this movie. Oh, but now it's like the post credit scene or whatever. Like that's the credits midway through the credits.
Sure.
And then you get the rest of the credits, and then psych, motherfucker, you got an hour left. So yeah, basically the reason why I wanted to bring this up for this episode in High Beam Low Beam is just to kind of show this is a trailer that we both are kind of like, we're kind of differing on how we would do it differently, but we both agree that the trailer does give away something pretty massive about the film itself. But that said, you and I both ended up loving the movie, and we both had interesting but still rewarding experiences, even though this trailer gave something away. And that's something that I think is really endearing, one. And two, I think it does show that how, even though there are times where, yes, and I would argue with One Cut of the Dead, this trailer does give a little bit too much away to my tastes. I also think you can still have a perfectly valid experience with a film outside of that context. Yeah, and bear in mind, like, there are definitely instances where a trailer does give too much away and it can genuinely impede, or a trailer can missell a movie. We talked about Little Monsters just within the past.
Oh my God, yeah.
There are instances where a trailer can impede on the movie itself and your experience watching it. It's even though it's hard, and you can hear James and I struggle sometimes, but you do have to do your best to kind of treat the trailer and the film as its own separate thing.
It's a balance act. I mean, that's all it is.
Such a fucking tightrope walk, and it makes it all the more special when you have a great trailer complete with a great movie that it doesn't impede on the enjoyment of.
Of course, yeah, and honestly, if it isn't as successful as this movie, that's okay too. Like they can't. It's a balancing act, and everyone's trying their best, is what I'm saying. Absolutely. Like you have to sell this movie in order to get people to see it. What is the best way to do that? Maybe sometimes in some cases it has to be kind of giving something away or spoiling something. And sure, a person that sees that movie and goes, oh, I would have liked to not known that going in. You have to ask the question, if that wasn't in the trailer, would you even be here anyway?
Yeah. Yeah,
and
that's a good question. Because you're right, that could have gotten more people in the theater, that meta aspect. So.
Yeah, and I think high beams, low beams is a good segment that I'm excited to implement again and kind of see with a different kind of movie, maybe more of a traditional movie, and
like a blockbuster or something. Yeah, it's one of those things just where in the future, if there's a major blockbuster that's coming and you're like, it feels like Trailer Hitch should be all over this trailer, what's going on? There's a chance it might be incorporated in the high beam, low beam segment. And so we'll talk about the trailers, just not until after everyone has fucking seen the thing. And like maybe we'll kind of lay bare to people just so that way there's never any question if it's like, guys, it's never going to happen with a Star Wars movie, but there's a new Star Trek movie. What are you guys doing? Why are you not talking about this?
Well,
this is going to be our high beam, low beam.
Exactly. Like you said. And the thing we can do is every time there's a new trailer for that movie, we will remind audiences, hey, we know there's a trailer. Remember, we're doing a high beam, low beam, which means blah, 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 you know?
Yeah. And bear in mind, I kind of made it sound like my experience or our experience with One Cut of the Dead was like empirical evidence that hipsters can suck it. And that's 100% not what we're getting at.
I mean, they can suck it, Kevin. Let's be honest.
Fucking hipsters. They're not listening to us anyway because they hate trailers. And bear in mind, we would like to say, obviously, I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you're obviously at least trailer agnostic. But like, if you do genuinely prefer to avoid trailers, that is your choice as a person who sees movies. But we did want to bring up this segment to kind of show like the validity of trailers, even in contexts where arguably they give too much away. And that said, we will be doing this segment in the future for future releases, and there's a chance that we will have different answers depending on the movie. And it's because trailers are malleable. Like they're not all one and the same, and they will give you different inferences as to what a movie's about. A trailer can be a different thing in terms of its own self-contained thing. There are so many variables in check. And so if we do run into instances where we do have completely separate experiences, we'll get into the specifics as to why we feel that way when it comes.
I think exactly right.
But at the same time, James, you are right by saying, all these people like trailer editors, etc., are just trying their best. Much like the people of One Cut of the Dead, they did the damn thing, and that's good enough. Speaking of doing the damn thing, James, we did the damn thing. We did an episode never looking each other in the eye once.
Did we?
No, we didn't.
Were you recording?
No, I'm recording right now.
I thought this was a test.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, well, to clear the next hour and a half of your schedule, bud, you're free because this is the end of the episode.
All right, great.
Beautiful. Okay, so before we go, if you want to reach out to us, perhaps you saw One Cut of the Dead and you were like, oh, well, I saw the trailer and I thought it wrecked fucking everything. Or you're like, I didn't see the trailer, but I kind of wish I did. You can hit us up. Hit us up via Facebook. If you just search Trailer Hitch there. Otherwise, if you want to hit us up on Trailer, we're at Trailer Hitch Pod. You can also email us at trailerhitchmailbox@gmail.com. You can take a picture and send it to us on our Instagram at Trailer Hitch Podcast. Otherwise, you can find us, Trailer Hitch Podcast, on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to us there. And you can leave a comment. We can also get your feedback by that method. But otherwise, if you wanted to listen, I'm sure you're listening to either iTunes or Stitcher or YouTube. But if you're like, well, I'm sick of always listening to this on Stitcher, maybe give YouTube a go. I don't know. Whatever you got to do to keep yourself sane. Before we go, we would like to thank Danny Schmitz from Lost in the Name for the amazing intro song that you hear at the top of every episode. We would like to thank Casey Clowers for the amazing outro, which you will hear momentarily. We would also like to thank Rachel Ashley for the beautiful cover art that you see on all of our various social medias. You can find her work at Mighty Creations on Instagram. We would also like to thank Jenny Hawks, our intrepid social media and bad movie correspondent, for her sterling work week in and week out. And lastly, we would like to thank you wherever we are. We hope it is in your home. We hope it is you just being bored and ideally in great health. Other than the fact that you keep gaining weight and you can't do a push-up to save your life.
You're just projecting your own crap now, Kevin, on the top of other people.
You can't mount holy sails without a sailor stitch, and you can't haul your stuff without a trailer hitch. Trailer hitch.
I don't know about you, but I like that.
That was beautiful.
All right.
I don't think I could have gone any better.
Oh, look at us. Fuck pandemics.